Welcome to the HCI family of podcasts. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We share our own original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. Join us for practitioner-oriented content around all things leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with the HCI family of podcasts. Kyle Samuels, welcome to the conversation today.
Thanks for having me, Jonathan.
It's a real pleasure to be with you. Where are you joining us from?
Charlotte, North Carolina, my friend.
Oh, I love Charlotte. Wonderful. Well, it's great to be with you. I'm excited to have a nice conversation with you today about diversifying your talent pipeline. I am joining a call from south of Salt Lake City in Utah. As we get started, I wanted to share Kyle's bio with everybody. Kyle Samuels is the founder and CEO of Creative Talent Endeavors, a retained executive search firm known for helping organizations identify and hire their leadership talent that drives growth, transformation, and long-term value. Under Kyle's leadership, CTE has been recognized twice on Inc. 5000's list of fastest growing private companies and was named the fourth fastest growing company in Charlotte. What sets Kyle apart is a deep commitment to authenticity, candor, and alignment. Whether he's partnering with a founder, making their first executive hire, or global enterprise, reshaping its leadership bench, Kyle brings a direct, empathetic, and values-driven approach to every search. Now, I could go on. I'm going to pause there. Kyle, anything you would like to highlight by way of your background, personal context before we dive on in?
Just that, as you'll find out in this conversation, myself and the company here at CTE, we like to get creative and find interesting ways to solve problems for our clients. And so I think that when it comes to diversification, you'll hear some things that maybe aren't as obvious as you might think as well.
Well, let's start there. Why, diversifying your talent pipeline is something that I think a lot of people think about, a lot of people talk about, but why are organizations so unsuccessful continually in diversifying their talent pipeline? We're just not getting there, even though we know it's important.
So like McKinsey has done the report and the data show that diverse teams work better, they have better outcomes, blah, 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 right? But people are just like, whatever. And so I believe it's like this. The issue is that argument for why diversity makes sense hasn't always been made in the right way, right? So like if I'm the CFO of a company and I need a head of investor relations, and you're telling me that I only need to talk to women or Black people or Latinos because of the horrible things that have happened to them in the past, like my heart goes out, but you haven't told me how that's going to help our company with this role. Now, if you say, well, as you know, 87% of the people who buy our product are women. And to be honest, 50% of the press that we talk to are women. That's why we want to have we think it's important to look at female heads of investor relations. That's like a business thing that people could kind of understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
But people hate being, especially in America, we hate being told what to do. And so if you tell someone they need to do something without really explaining the full impact of it, that would engender a little bit of resistance because you haven't explained why I have to do this thing well. You know what I mean? In terms of a business thing. So I think that's the biggest issue is that people don't think about how can I explain to someone and bring them along with me that this is not just about like doing what's right. It's about this is going to help our organization.
Yeah, and there's a variety of ways to make that business case for diversified teams and diversified talent pipelines. Unfortunately, so much of this conversation has become so politicized within a very polarizing kind of environment that it's tough because I do think that most people the majority of people want everyone to have truly equal opportunity. They want diverse teams. They see the value in that. Like you said, people don't want to be forced into it. They don't want to be forced to make a hire specifically given someone's, an identity or, whatever. But I think generally people want to have that. This whole conversation has become so polarizing and so politicized that I think common sense has fled the room in some cases, like we almost can't even have the conversation in some context because, either people get riled up or people are scared of joining the conversation because of how polarizing it is. So that adds another level to this. But to your point, like it's not about like there have been examples of quotas. And there are circumstances where quotas have been put in place. But for the vast majority of working Americans, quotas aren't actually and haven't been a thing. Like you do a search, you hire the best person, but diversifying the talent pipeline isn't even necessarily about that final hiring decision. It's about creating a really great diverse pool of candidates and creating a system and a process that's fair and equitable and gives everyone truly an equal chance so that we're not just continually packing the room with mediocre or less than mediocre white guys. And once you create a truly diverse pool with good systems, you will naturally start to have more diversified teams, right? And that's the trick though, is all of a sudden, some white guy gets passed over for a promotion that he believes he deserves. It ends up being, say, a woman of color. And instead of saying that woman has tons of qualifications, you can go look at her, her resume, you can look at her work history, fully qualified, deserves the position, but given her identity, people dismiss her, discount her, and that's incredibly unfair. It's just this hard thing that perhaps we're in a more difficult position today than we have been in a long time, around how these conversations and processes can really play out within organizations.
I will tell you that it has been few and far between in 2025. It happens, but not as much as it was from like 2020 to 2020. Beginning of 2023 was like every slate must be diverse. And now that's kind of like, hey, find us the best person. We're open to diversity, but do what you got to do to get us talent quickly, right? So that has absolutely changed. But again, I think what's failed is company. Give you a quick example. McDonald's. I'm just picking McDonald's because it's McDonald's. Nothing. Take them out. It's like I could say Wendy's or whatever. We'll go McDonald's. So McDonald's in their annual report, they will say like, "Hey, we launched the new $12 luxury value meal, and here's how it did. We opened 1,000 new stores. Here's how they're performing. Flurry Shake is doing great, or we discontinued it, right? So they'll show you what they did and the effect it had, the impact. With diversity, a lot of times, and we hired 20 more Black and Latina at the director and above level. And we went to 12 more HBCUs, but they don't do the dot. And we found that our HBCU hires typically stay twice as much as those from other ones. Like they don't give you the actual business thing to make someone say, okay, this is just business. This is good business. They stop there. And so that is a lot of the problem. A lot of these clients, they like to do the performative stuff. Like, let's go to National Black MBA and get the booth. And we're here. Who did you hire? No one. You just wanted to seem like you really cared about stuff like that instead of doing the real work. So I think that's one of the things that's really hurt the movement is that people weren't really great at explaining why. It kind of got conflated into like, yes, it sucks that George Floyd was murdered, but that's not because George Floyd is dead doesn't mean I have to hire a black CFO. Sorry. Like I don't see the through line there, right? And so a lot of companies like, but no, you don't understand. It was the wrong way to message something that I think could have been done in a much clearer way where people are just like, oh, because I will tell you this, people think all this stuff about corporate and racism, and yes, there's racism everywhere, but people will easily look over racism to get some of that money. Think about after slavery was abolished and black people were setting up stores and stuff. And so now it's like, hey, I used to get free labor. Now I got to pay you, a pittance, but I got to pay you. But guess what? I give you 2 cents, I'm going to get 50 cents in value. So sure, even though I think you're one step above an animal, but I'm going to do it, right? So my point is that if you can make a compelling business decision, a lot of the other stuff goes away.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very good point. And you brought up George Floyd, which really the pendulum swung so much so quickly. People called it the George Floyd moment, where it just captured the attention across the country, across the world. And all of a sudden, every organization is putting out a statement and creating employee resource groups and having conversations and whatnot. The how rapidly the pendulum swung, and the performative nature of what so many organizations were doing at that time because they felt like they had to, but they didn't necessarily have anything substantial behind what they were saying or doing. I think that's also a big part of why we're where we're at today because there tends to be natural kind of I hate to say correction because I don't think it's correct, but like the
Mm-hmm.
pendulum swinging correction back, right? The reverse swing has now come back so far the other direction, in part because the performative stuff. There's so much performative stuff that happened during that time frame where people are just like this, even if someone was like very committed to inclusion and diversity efforts, all of a
Do
sudden
you
they're
remember?
like, what are we doing here? Like this doesn't make any sense. And it's, all of a sudden there's no, like you said, there's no through line, there's no business case. It's all performative. And set aside the politicization and polarizing nature of stuff. Just that alone, I think, has created some of the context that we're in, where now people are like rethinking, well, does this really make any sense? Does this really matter? Or are we just putting up a show? And most people aren't stupid. Like they know if you're just putting on a show, they know that if you don't mean what you actually are saying. And I think that definitely has hurt the movement and the cause quite a bit.
I couldn't agree more. I also think that, like, when you talk about the pendulum swinging, it went so far. And I often reflect, I don't say often, like now reflecting on this. So, about 10 years ago or so, I just remember, like, it was in corporate HR, and there's a lot of people, it's like, oh, we got to do better. HR or corporate America is pale, male, and stale. And the people saying this were
Yeah.
white dudes. And in retrospect, I'm just like, oh shit. They were just saying that because like I gotta protect my job and act like I'm with the program. So even though it's like making fun of me, I'm gonna say it, but I don't really believe it. I think I add value. I'm a little resentful. So now Big T's back and they're like, oh, let's go. Let's go. Once the people who haven't had it have it, it sometimes goes like super far. And then the other group gets in and it goes super far. And it's just like I think the majority of us are like right in the middle. Like we're probably agree about certain things. Like should a handicapped LGBTQ veteran have the same opportunity to compete for a job as anyone else? Yes, I think most people will be like, yes.
Yep.
Should they be hired over a more qualified person just because of those attributes? No, I think most people will agree on that.
Yeah.
But what people say on either side is like, they won't hire veterans and stuff like that. And this person says they want to hire overqualified people. And then that's where you get all the noise.
Yep, absolutely. So, what do we do about this? This is the messy situation that we find ourselves in. How can organizations make their cultures more inclusive and really diversify that talent pipeline?
So I think two things. Number one, it has to be kind of what we talked about, explaining the value of why you are doing something, right? So like if you're forming an ERG for Pacific Islanders, right, and Asian people in your company, and someone white is like, well, I don't understand. The purpose here is that they're only 7% of our company. We want to help them find community. They have common bounds. It's not hard for you to find a white person to be friends with this. Oh,
Right.
I get it. So explaining what it is, et cetera, and not making it exclusionary, but just saying like, this is what we're trying to do. And then the other part I think that companies sometimes forget, especially in technology and the kind of sexy industries, is Bubba. And Bubba's my guy who's a computer science grad from University of Nebraska. He would love to work at Netflix or Meta or a VC-backed company that we've never heard of yet, but those companies don't come. So now he's at Monsanto doing computer science, right? This kid would give his left arm to work for some of these companies. He's going to feel like he's got something to prove and he's going to go crazy. And he's going to add value because most people aren't going to be like, do you know what it's like when the pigs wake up and you got to go slop them at 6 a.m. in the morning, then you got to go to high? No, I don't. But that could be a bit, oh, what if you, my point is this, people from other walks of life, regardless of what they look like, will have things that you haven't even thought about that can make your organization money because they're coming with a totally different lens, right? They didn't grow up, even if they grew up financially middle class, is middle class on 100 acres, slopping cows and feeding animals and da da da, and riding machinery and crop dusters. So like they have experience that could spawn an idea or an improvement in an organization. But if you get everyone who's black, white, red, whatever, hey, we came from suburbia, we went to college, we're here
Right.
now, you miss out on that type of diversity, which I think is important as well.
Very, very important point. We're not just talking about race, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, all of those forms of identities and diversity. We're talking about cognitive diversity, neurodiversity. We're talking about socioeconomic diversity. We're talking about all forms of diversity. Like it makes good sense in a hyper competitive world where you need constant innovation and creativity and you need to meet the needs of diversified markets. Like it makes all the sense in the world that you would want people from different walks of life, people with different backgrounds, different lenses, different ways of seeing the world to be part of your team to be able to move that forward. It's such an easy business case to make. like to your point earlier, like it's so frustrating when this whole conversation fails to even bring that forward. Like, yes, there's the human case. There's the kind of the moral, ethical, like, let's do right by others and make sure that we're doing this, right? Yes, absolutely. But the business case is so crystal clear on this, and there's so much evidence for why this makes good business sense in addition to good human sense, that if we can just tell that story better, we can start to cut through all the political noise and the other garbage that just muddies everything. And yeah, it's tough. And I'm saying it as a straight cisgender white guy. I want to be, an ally. I want to be supportive of others, but I recognize my privilege. I recognize that there's all sorts of layers of things that I have that I don't even have to think about because I'm a straight cisgender white guy, and other people have other things that are just part of their daily existence. On the other hand, I grew up super poor. And so I have that's different perhaps than some people who have different race identities or whatever. Like, that's a unique thing about me. That's a unique thing about my background and all the jobs I did when I was young and the lessons learned and all of that, right? So I can bring that forward. Other people can bring other aspects of themselves forward. All of it collectively will make us better if we can
Mm.
lean into it. And I guess I don't know, we're in a spot where we're lazy about making the business case and telling that story. And more people are scared to even be part of the conversation, or to try to do things, in terms of equitable hiring practices, or things like that, because they're almost afraid of like charges of reverse discrimination more than they're scared of charges of discrimination, like discrimination. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that over the last couple of years about companies being afraid of being sued by a straight cisgender white guy for discrimination, not all the other people that are actually having a hard
Hey,
time getting
Rob,
jobs.
Robbie Starbuck is busy, man. Like he's out there. He's out there and he's real and he's doing those things. I also think I know about the rap, but I would say that the other part is that sometimes good intentions lead to negative outcomes. Meaning this,
Sure.
so lots of companies have big employee referral programs, right? On people vetted, but most people in executive roles are, right. And so who are they going to refer? I'm not saying they're not qualified, the people they know. And so it just becomes one of these, you just keep feeding the beast where it's like more and more and more. And if things are going well, it is hard to tell someone, hey, we're running things really well with your company of 98% like white and Asian dudes. I'm thinking about like VC stuff, right? To say, but if you scrapped all this and brought in some diversity, you could do even more. It's like that sounds good, but when I look at the other startups, they look kind of like this. So I'm gonna keep doing this thing because it seems to be working, right? And they're wary of switching it up just to get more. They just don't see the value in it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Kyle, this has just been a great conversation. We've only really scratched the surface. There's so much more to dig into on this topic, so much that organizations and leaders can do, just to truly make a more inclusive culture and diversifying our pipelines. As we wrap things up for today, I wanted to give you a chance to share with the audience how they can connect with you, find out more about your work, and then give us the final word for today.
So you can reach me on LinkedIn, Kyle Samuels. You can go to our website, which is hirecte.com. We have our Fairantee algorithm. And what I really want to talk about as we end is we have a Hire Ready program. It's 3 weeks long. It takes all the weeks of training that these other companies do and distills it into what it takes for you to find a job today. All that one-click applying is not going to get done, my boy. So it's about the relationships. We tell you how to nurture those. We tell you how to build thoughtful, cold emails to reach out to people. So check us out at hirecte.com. Shoot me an email, shoot me a DM.
Wonderful. Kyle, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I encourage the audience to reach out, to get connected, find out more about what Kyle and his team can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe. They can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We hope you stay healthy and safe, and please join us again soon.